Welcome back to the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins. And if you love college football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring that bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast. I'd like to welcome into the show tonight everybody's favorite unfair sportsman, Mr. Jawan Smith. Jay, welcome to the show, my friend.
What's good, everybody? Thanks for having me. As usual, Jason, love to come on here and talk college ball. What's going on, everybody?
Yeah.
I see Hank, we got in there. We got Kim, what up? We got Jimmy. We got all the usual family members. James, I saw you ate a whole bunch of eggs and you're sick now. It's always a plus, but not a plus at the same time.
It's always good to check in with these guys. They get so busy before the stream starts that it gives you a little something to talk about to start with, huh?
Yeah.
What's up, fellas? How's everybody doing tonight? I'm glad everybody came into the show. We're going to start picking it up a little bit, trying to do more live ones every week. I am going to let you guys into a couple of call-ins a little later on in the show. We're going to get into a few different things. Hey, there's Sean even. Sean, my favorite troll from Arkansas. Or Arkansas fan anyway. I don't know that he lives in Arkansas, but he's for sure my favorite troll on here. What's up, Kim? How's everybody doing today? Jimmy, welcome back to the show. Didn't see you in here this last time. You guys be sure to the link is in there for the subscribers to the page, so you can jump in and we'll talk about a few different things. As you probably saw or maybe you did, in the description, we were talking a little bit about. There has been some conflicting reports out there. Jay, whenever they were Ross Dellinger from the Sports Illustrated had put out that initial what they thought the schedule was going to look like as far as permanent opponents were concerned.
Yeah.
And that's where you started seeing Florida on the Oklahoma schedule. All of a sudden, we're starting to see that Florida will actually maybe, according to a couple of people. In fact, I saw somebody, Allie Peak, and she said from inside the Florida that they will also be playing Texas. What do you think about that? It seems a little, I don't know how you make that happen, but how would that work out, you think?
That's interesting. Shout out to Allie Peak, doing your thing over there.
Yeah, she's just doing a great job over there. I like her show.
Doing great. Yeah, I know TJ, just Florida State, also out in that area. So shout out to both. That's a fascinating piece that they would consider throwing Florida on both Oklahoma and Texas schedule. I can definitely see Oklahoma as the permanent opponent because that makes sense, right? Not really the quote unquote rivalry piece. I mean, you'll have Texas. You'll also have potentially Arkansas and Missouri. I've seen Missouri more than I've seen Arkansas. I would prefer Arkansas, but I digress. But having somebody on the opposite side of the conference would make sense to be able to help, I guess, balance the powers, because making it geographic to me isn't truly fair for everybody, because I feel Nick Saban on this one. I mean, playing LSU, playing Tennessee, and then they probably would throw Georgia right there on them. It's like, come on, guys. We play the best teams. We play them all the time anyway. Like, why do we need to? I mean, Auburn, even throwing Auburn there. All those teams have potentially vied for championships, have won championships in the last 20 to 30 years. And so, you want balance. You want a little bit of balance. And so I do like the idea of Oklahoma having Florida. Texas, I don't know. I actually would like to see Texas go up against like Ole Miss. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think right away you're going to get them bitching if they were to get they're going to play A&M, and apparently, but for them to have to play Oklahoma, A&M, and Florida would probably piss them right off, just knowing how Texas is. But that being said, and I saw there's already some Tuck Fex's stuff going on in here in the comments here, so I appreciate that. Here we go. But it's officially Tuck Fex's season again, is what Hank said. Love it. But I really do feel like I agree with you. I think that maybe them or LSU or Ole Miss. I could see. I definitely want to see some of those more regional rivalries that could happen that haven't already happened before. Um, but I do like the idea of Oklahoma and Florida for sure. I don't know that you know the uh, I know for sure that like when you start talking about Alabama, they're not getting rid of the Iron Bowl. That's not happening.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
they're not going to do that. And for that matter, does Auburn get rid of the Georgia game? Which I mean, you might be a little pissy if you're Hugh Freeze, knowing that you get them both every year, right off the bat. You know what I mean? But that being said, that game right there, Auburn Georgia is the oldest rivalry in the South. They've been playing it longer than the Iron Bowl's been played. That is not going away probably either. But that being said, I mean, I could see where they would probably want to get rid of one of them. I don't see either one. They're two of them. Both of them are right up there with the toughest or the most popular rivalry games out there.
Yeah, no, it's
And
a
then
challenge.
they're going to be playing Georgia too. So it's there's the balance is going to be tough, I think. And that's kind of what me and High Top were talking about the other day.
No, you're right, and that's a challenge for them to, like I said, you want to have some sort of quote unquote competitive balance. But I put it like this though: if the SEC is as great as everyone props it up to be, isn't it going to be competitively balanced anyway, regardless of who plays who?
True.
So it doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. I mean, those that are realistic understand that there is a hierarchy, but
sure.
the casuals that really just prop up the SEC, it should just it should be what it is. Just everybody, whoever plays who, and then you got 6 other games. It's gonna be that way, and just we'll see who rises to the top.
Yeah, I think that you're gonna get your. I think that there could arise some issues where you get, but I don't know that you get a week off at all. I mean, you've got other than like Vanderbilt, Mizzou. Arkansas has had its struggles here and there, but they look better to me. They've got a good coach there. They got a heck of a quarterback still. I mean, obviously Kendall left, but there's just really not any off weeks in this thing either way. And even Mizzou, I mean, you could see them. They're definitely not going to lay down to Oklahoma. They've played Oklahoma enough in their time to not, they don't win usually. But
right.
Either way, it should balance out. But I also feel like you could have on your off year, I hope that it balances out to where that off year, you're not going to end up with all the, top heavy or whatever. In any event, I could care less. I think that you're going to go through it one way or the other. And the good news is you've got an expanded playoff now. You're probably looking at minimum 3, probably 4 teams coming out of the SEC anyway. A lot of years, I would, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, you're 100% spot on with that. You're going to get a bunch of SEC schools regardless of who's where.
right.
And with the 12-team playoff, you're probably going to get 3 teams. Now that's if the SEC holds up with knocking off schools at other conferences while at the same time maintaining a high enough rank. There's a good chance you're going to get 3 of them every year. And then at that point, you can see who's the best.
think that 3 is probably the minimum. You know what I mean? And I think that they'd probably do, I don't know that they do the same with the Big Ten, but they probably do because they are the ones putting the most money in it and running it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the problem you run into is that you still have to you still have to earn your spot there. And if they're going with the highest rated, the 6 highest rated conference champions,
champs.
and then 6 at-larges, there's going to be a balance in between there. You're going to have some ACC schools in there in the other 6. You're going to have Big 10. You're going to have Big 12. And you're going to have a Pac 8 or 6 or whatever the hell they're going to be at that point. You'll have 1 or 2, and you may have a group of 5 school within that balance. It's going to be who's going to be ranked in that top 12 for the most part. And I can totally see that I don't know if they're going to be able to finagle the system to where you'll have 4 SEC schools ranked that high. Because at some point you're going to cannibalize yourself.
Think about
right?
it. At the end of the year last year, at the end of the year last season, you had 4 SEC schools in the top 12. I mean, and they only got 1 in, but they did have 4 in there. I still feel like, yeah, maybe we'll see how it goes. I think that 3 is for sure thing. 4, yeah, I think there may be some years that you don't. But here's the thing: how many years so far out of the 9 playoffs that they've already had? Look at how many times you've had 2 SEC schools in there anyway. Almost.
No, you're true.
So, I mean, you triple up the number of entrants in it, and I mean, and the coach had said on here before, he goes, "Why not?" He goes, "If it's the best conference, then why not?" And I think that that's the one thing that you want to do. You want to make sure that the best teams are in it, no matter what. I'm all for inclusion with the other conference champions. My wonder would be whether or not you're going to have. My wonder would be whether or not you're going to have the Pac-12 as still we're going to get into that a little bit in here in just a second, but the Pac-12 being a Power 5 school still, or a Power 5 conference still. That would be my concern there. Is it going to go to a Power 4? And eventually later on, even lower than that. Because if the 4 corner schools end up going into the Big 12 or whatever, I mean, then the only thing you could be left with would probably be a watered down version of the Pac-12, which is basically the Mountain West, right?
I mean, at that point, they need to try to absorb the Mountain West because.
Yeah, I think they have to.
You have to find a way to keep yourself in P5 status. But you're right. It's gonna be 4 at that point. Once they lose their cornerstone schools, the Big 12 needs to go ahead and put the full court press on Utah and Colorado and get them over there. Period. Just get it done.
I think so too. And that was another thing we were going to talk about with some of this craziness that's been going on. I don't know how much I haven't seen a ton of videos out of you on it, but I know you're kind of keeping up with it. Let's talk about some of that with that Pac-12, the Big 12, Pac-12, all of this back and forth that's going on. It seems like it's propaganda house all day long when it comes to, you've got John Wilner and John Canzano. You've got that are just completely Pac-12 homers. And listen, I've been a sports writer for freaking 20 years, and I've never seen anything like this. And I get it that if you went to school there and you cover programs in the Pac, I understand that. But when you have as many people, you've got your Dennis Dodds out there, you've got Pete Thamel, who works at ESPN, so he probably knows a little bit about what is going on in the negotiations as far as the ESPN side is concerned. And then you have Dennis Dodd, who, CBS Sports, he is one of the most respected guys out there. The list kind of goes on and on, not to mention people outside of the media that are saying the same thing. And the only people that are saying that the Pac-12 is going to have this great media deal that isn't almost 100% streaming are Canzano and Wilner. Somebody loses their credibility here, Jay, don't they?
No, you're right. There's so much back and forth with it. I think that's the problem for me, is that there's too much uncertainty and there's a lot of mixed information. I'm trying to figure out who's purposely putting this out, like who's leaking this information and what's their end game, because an all streaming deal, 10 years ago, I've been like, man, y'all are hurting bad. In today's climate, might not be too bad.
I don't think that they're completely ready for it yet. I think it's probably still a few years away, but I do think we're closer to being able to do that because more people stream than ever.
Well, no, I think that we're ready for it today. Honestly, and I put it like this. There is a great opportunity to
be the first one.
That's the one. 2, more people consume YouTube videos and YouTube content than they do actually watching cable. And so being on the big networks, you would probably want that. The hardest thing for someone going to a full streaming platform is understanding how to get it to your audience so they can watch it. So to
Yeah.
me, if you want to get smart, find a way to get on ESPN Plus, something that's pretty established. Find a way to work with YouTube and get on YouTube TV or something like that, to where that package can be added on and you can stream it. But I guess the biggest problem is what's the infrastructure look like on the back end to be able to provide that to everybody. You may need to call Amazon. You probably should pick up the phone and call Apple TV as well, because
Right.
even
Well, and
though
Apple's got the deal
price-wise,
with MLS right now, so they're
right,
kind of doing something with it. You've got is it Apple or Amazon that's doing Major League Baseball, or at least a portion of it?
Apple
Yeah.
TV's doing. I
So
think
that
actually both of them are. So yeah,
right, and then of course you have YouTube, who now has the Sunday Ticket, the NFL Sunday Ticket, which was surprised me because apparently Apple was in on that. There was something that came apart with that. Something that came apart at the end on that. The problem is going to be is if it's all it is, and it's a pay streaming service, right? And that's all well and good for your Pac-12 fans, right? If they're going to stay, and if it's somewhere in the neighborhood of the right money, because if you're looking at the Big 12, they're getting 31.7 million per season. That's their base. They're probably going to land somewhere around 50, 55 even. I've heard as high as once you start getting the revenue share. Now, that's still going to leave you at minimum $25-30 million behind the Big Ten and the SEC. And it could be 45 million or more by the time it's all said and done, because obviously both of those deals kind of pay more on the back end than they do in the first few years. But how do you keep up, particularly when you're only being the casual college football person that isn't going to want to pay $300, which is what I'm hearing that it'll be for Apple. That's what I'm hearing on that. Oh, there's my boy Lauren. Oh, Mr. Gragston.
Now, I mean, if you're a Pac-12 fan, sure. The biggest problem, the only thing about the streaming portion of it is that you have to find a way to get on some of the broadcast channels. You got to find a way to get on. Hell, go call NBC and see if you can get a small deal with them. I mean, they really only have Notre Dame. Find a way to.
Well, they're in on the Big Ten deal now. They're doing
that's true. Because of Peacock and all of that stuff.
Right.
So yeah, you probably need to pick up the phone one of them. But that's the bigger one, is getting on a big
You've
national.
You've got to get one of them to do it
over the air broadcast, because like ESPN, if you get on ESPN, you're gonna be on ABC. CBS, they've got theirs. You want to be on one of those channels that don't cost to be able to watch too. You got to be on both.
Correct.
And that's kind of how you draw in your fan base. And I enjoyed Pac-12 After Dark when I decided to stay up late on a Saturday.
I don't have a problem with that too. And being college football fans, I love it. And I would be one of the ones that would buy it because I love football. And and us
now buying it, I don't know about all that. That's a little much.
There's other ways around it.
But that means you're not buying it. That's the point.
No. But that's the thing is what we're hearing right now is Apple, if they were to want to do the whole thing, which I think they may, they would be talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 a year. That's a lot of money. I wouldn't pay that much. 100, yeah, maybe. You know what I mean? But that's considering that I care about the Pac-12. And do I now? With Coach Prime, absolutely. With but then the other thing that you have about it is that
the only reason why you want to watch it is because of Coach Prime. You want to see if he's going to be successful or not.
Absolutely.
That's what's fascinating about their conference. Really, you got two things really that's pretty fascinating. You've got the Lincoln Riley piece at USC. Can he bring them back to
for this year? Just for this year, he's leaving.
And so after they leave, the only thing you got left is Coach Prime. Literally, that's it. And you got to hope he stays.
Right. Yeah. No doubt, man. And that's the whole thing. Yeah. I had James was on here the other night on our call-in show, and the first thing he said, he goes, "It's a little off subject." He said, "But I think that he's gone to the NFL after this year." I mean, And I can see what he's talking about. He's talking about leaving with Caleb Williams. He thinks that this is the best guy that he's had. It makes
Oh, you're
sense.
talking about
We'll get
Lincoln.
him
Okay.
Lincoln. Yeah. So you
Oof.
start thinking about Lincoln, and I mean, now he's considering he's still getting number one level quarterbacks to commit to him. I could see that he would, and plus he's still got a lot of that contract left. He'll still be around 80 mil at the end of this.
Yeah.
So it would be hard. It would be hard. What did you say? I'm going to laugh when Suck goes to the Big Ten without Lincoln. Yep. See, he's still on that. So, so yeah. And look, it's a possibility. I mean, you never know with coaches, that's for sure. What I would say is that I feel like he's got a lot left on that deal to where maybe that's a little premature. And for that matter, he could have already done that and pretty much worked himself into it. I mean, if he wanted it, he probably could have went and worked with Kyler already. You tell me he couldn't have called those guys at Arizona and said, "I want this job."
Oh, Arizona would have taken him yesterday. Now, at the same time, they did just go through a coach that came from college and it didn't work out. While at the same time, they did pick the wrong one. I think.
Oh yeah, they picked the wrong one. He could have went with Mahomes or Baker. So I don't want to hear, that Cliff ain't the same.
Right,
dude,
right.
Man. I'm sorry, he's just not.
Now, Cliff ain't that guy.
Yeah.
He ain't that guy.
No, he ain't that guy. He's never been that guy. Again, I feel like a lot of this is, and then there's been some of the stuff that's been coming up lately, and this is another part of what I was saying with Canzano and Wilner, that you've got Canzano now claiming that Fox is not out of the deal. They've been out of the deal for freaking 6 months, and all of a sudden, not to say you could never get them back into anything, or if the money's right, but it sounds like to me you're trying to drive up the money, which is just, because right now they just don't have a lot of leverage. There's no other linear TV partner interested other than ESPN, and they're not even really that interested. They're talking about one game a week, one or maybe two, one on Friday, one on Saturday.
Right. That's kind of the problem. It's like, yeah. There's no prime real estate left. All the prime real estate's taken by the SEC and the Big Ten and the Big 12.
Exactly. And even I feel like even the Big 12's deal, as much as they got on it, you're going to see a lot of Big 12 football being streamed through ESPN Plus. It's going to have to be.
It only makes sense.
Now they have more than one channel that they can move more to their cable channels, their ESPN2. They have SEC channel, all that other stuff. So they can put more stuff on television that way, but already having those channels. But I don't see how Fox could be still in this. I whether they are or not. But again, the only person saying this is John Canzano.
I think it's got to be the embracing the Pac-12 after dark deal, because, as mentioned in the comments, the 11 o'clock games are tough, but not when it's out west, because that's 8 o'clock at night. So it's perfect for them. But the biggest problem you run into with a lot of those coasts is there's a lot other better things to do than to watch your team suck.
Bro, I don't know if you saw my video that I did with High Top the other day. I showed a couple of pictures of an empty Coliseum.
That's the problem, is that California is the worst when it comes to that, because there's so many other things to do in LA. Pasadena's, I've been out to the Rose Bowl. Pasadena's a pain in the butt to get to in general.
Oh, dude, I've been to the Rose Bowl. I went to the Rose Bowl when they played Georgia. Beautiful. It was I loved it.
I was there as well, so we probably ran across each other and didn't know it. It was beautiful, and it was just
a pain in the ass to get to it, though.
Yes, we had to ride buses and stuff, and so being that neither school stadium is right there where the students really can just walk to it and go. It's too much work, and besides that, it's really that there's so much more things to do in the fall.
Yeah, but honestly, if you talk about how much better this, because here's the other part of this whole conversation is that you have this, and this one's the one that's irritated me more than anything, and it's come a lot from the Utah end of it. um, where you have all these folks are saying stuff like, hey, we we can't go to the Big 12 because of the academics are so bad there. For this is the stupidest conversation I've ever even heard of.
I'm
Even
sorry.
if you go ahead,
I'm sorry. What?
right? Yeah, right. This is coming from Utah. It's the apparently now I will say this. This is coming from a creator that says he has sources at Utah that have told the Big 12 that they're not interested because the academics are so bad in the Big 12 that they're afraid
Is
that they
his
will lose
sources
money.
trust me, bro?
It's Monty, the Monty Show. Monty's full of
Is
crap,
his
by the
sources
way.
trust me, bro?
Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro.
I don't-
Who are your sources? Trust me, bro.
Trust me,
Because I'm
bro.
I'm I'm not
Yeah.
trusting this individual with that. That's
I don't know that.
preposterous.
Well, here's the thing: you have heard a ton from Utah fans, a ton. I mean, it's all over the place that they're saying that, and that is
Academics
a
is the
lot of
reason why.
Jay. That's
Academics?
also there's a lot of the Canzano, Wilner, all these guys. That is a lot of the narrative that's getting pushed out there. That for some reason that it supersedes your AAU status. If you're already a freaking AAU school, what in the hell would it have to do with anything of where you're playing football on Saturdays? I don't have any clue of that. But that's really what's being pushed around out there. And what I would tell you is that Brett Yormark during the conference tournament
Hmm.
just a couple of weeks ago said because of there's been so much of this kind of chatter out there, particularly coming from Utah again, which is crazy to me. They've been a freaking Power 5 school for 10 minutes. Um, but
Literally.
you heard Yormark said, I think that he's heard enough of it to the point that he said, you know what? One thing's for sure, you would have to be a culture fit. The culture fit stuff was only coming out of the Pac-12 until that. So there's a lot of stuff that's
Hmm.
getting thrown around out there. It's hilarious to me that we have this conversation, but again, it is a conversation that's being had for those of us who went to Big 12 schools and know lots of Big 12 graduates. It's pretty laughable to me that you would think that somebody that went to Baylor or somebody that went to TCU or somebody that went to Texas is less intelligent or has an inferior brain to to the folks in the Pac-12. Not everybody there is Stanford or
No,
Cal
not
even.
at all. I mean, you're not Stanford or Cal. I don't know what people think that. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, yeah. So anyway, Nebraska lost their AAU status. You're right. They did lose it. Right. It didn't change the Big Ten status. The reason they lost the status though was their hospital. It was something that they don't have within the hospital. Again, I would tell you that the Texas medical system that they have in their universities for their medical schools is every bit as good as the AAU system for their research stuff. They don't probably give two craps about AAU. I mean, the Big Ten is highly using AAU, and so is the Pac-12. That's their thing. It doesn't mean that, but again, one thing shouldn't have anything to do with the other. Should still be able to work with Stanford if you want to, if you're an AAU school. I don't understand that. And
That's
but
true.
what that's what I'm just saying is that the whole deal is that these narratives and this propaganda, the war that's out there, it's a propaganda war and it's for survival. And it's gotten hilarious at some points, but I don't know. I should probably stay off of Twitter, bro.
I can totally see that. Yeah, I spend very little time on there. I try to interact with people that I know on there, but for the most
Yeah.
part, it's hard to find me.
The thing is, you kind of have to take a look. But I was just going to kind of show this since we were talking about stadiums. Where is that? Maybe Heartland. Well, maybe not. I was just looking at it, but oops. So okay. Anyway, as I said, you're just talking about it. I don't want to see necessarily any. Um, you don't want to really see any conference completely go away,
No.
and it. But the truth of it is that that's where we're coming to at this point. There's really not a whole lot of other options because of the fact that it's kind of coming down to two. I've also said before they've been talking about the ACC deal. We talked about it, you and I, on Ty's show.
Yeah.
It doesn't really appear that they have a lot of options as far as that's concerned. Real quick,
Yeah, one of those when it see and kind of on the deal when it comes to losing the losing the conference piece or whatnot, and everybody's basically migrating to mega conferences and stuff. The only thing that I hate about it is that it does take away a lot of the big the regional portion and passion that comes with college football. I don't want to lose those regional rivalries. Like, truth be told, I don't like the Bedlam game basically being non-existent once OU
me
loses and
neither.
goes to the SEC.
But that's okay,
But
light,
OU
man.
and
That's
but OU and
yeah,
Texas came as a package deal on purpose because they want to
sure,
maintain that. That's the bigger rivalry. Now Bedlam isn't a rivalry; it's just Okie like getting OU beating up on little brother. But the
sure.
key thing with that though is there's still something special about the hate between the orange and the red in the state, right? There's still
Yeah,
something about it that's still special, even though one rarely ever beats the other. You still enjoy that. It's. I mean, Tennessee Vanderbilt's got a little bit of something when it comes to that. You enjoy some of those rivalries just because it's less about wins and losses. It's more about banter, and it's the fun portion of the banter that exists that you could potentially lose. Now, can it
right.
work? Yes. We've seen it work. Iowa and Iowa State's been doing it for years. It can work if you wanted to. The question is how hard does teams want to work to clear their schedule and make sure that one game is available. We know that like certain schools will put it together. USC plays Notre Dame all the time. A lot of Notre Dame and Stanford. A lot of them set themselves up specifically to make sure that it works out. But that's the only thing you really lose is if you break up some of these schools. Because I don't believe if Oregon and Washington leaves, I don't think Washington State and Oregon State are following Oregon and Washington. I don't think they're gonna vouch for them like that. You know what I'm saying? That to
Right.
me is the thing that takes away. It's like breaking up. It's like breaking up Ohio State, Michigan. Once they have to change their schedules and stuff around, you can't. That's why the SEC is looking at this 3 permanent opponent deal, is because there's certain rivalries you don't want broken up. You don't want the Iron Bowl broken up. You don't want the third
Right.
Saturday in October broken up. And then
Right.
the LSU piece is really because Saban won a national championship at LSU and they love him
That's
in
just been
Louisiana.
that's a recent rivalry more than anything else, right?
It's not even a
Because they've
rivalry. It's just
competed.
it's Nick
Right.
Saban's love. That Louisiana loves Nick Saban. Like they
Right.
don't hate him. They love him. He won them a
No.
title. He won
Well,
their first one.
and they've both won national championships in the playoff era. If there is competition, aside from Georgia, it's been LSU. So that's also, I mean, yeah, and I get it. I'm with you on that. The other thing is that I'm going to bring in another guy that is Lawrence Graxton. He's our boy here, T. He's been talking about a lot of this. He went to Michigan State also. But again, yeah, and this is where we're kind of at on all this, is that the rivalries are what sells college football. I've been saying that a lot lately. We like to sit here and act like that it's about media markets. And so you look at this media market up here on the screen share. This is your media market. This is what they care about that game. At UCLA, I could show you the same thing within. I mean, I've got a bunch of pictures of the Coliseum that are just like that. As you guys have seen on my videos recently.
Now we're gonna be fair here. We're gonna be fair. We're gonna be fair
Okay.
here.
Oh,
Okay.
fairness. Okay,
We're gonna be
good.
fair. We're gonna be fair.
All right.
That's when they sucked. Same thing with USC. All those fans out
No,
there
there
are
was times. This
bandwagoners.
was
They're
this
fair
was
weather.
these folks. I'm telling you now, Jay. There's pictures from this past year when they were already
I
winning
know.
at USC and the Rose Bowl
I
that they're still
know.
not filling that
But
stadium
this
up.
was before the year before they weren't very good. This year, when they actually got up there to those 19 win seasons, as the season progressed, it started filling up. And I say that
I don't think
not
that
to
the Rose
defend
Bowl
them.
was full for SC and UCLA.
Not it was, but not to not. But I'm not defending them. I'm just pointing out that there's so many other things to do than to watch a crappy team play football. That is the problem they have out there. Like if the team's crappy, there's no reason to show up. The students got other stuff that they can go do. People go to those schools not to go to football games.
Right. Look,
they go for other stuff.
I know, and I get it, and it's a different deal in the Pac-12. But that's the whole point is that for this thought that it's a more valuable conference than what the Big 12 would have been, even after losing SC and UCLA, even after the Big 12 added 4 schools. Mm-hmm. BYU being one of them. And I'll tell you something. The thing about BYU is they're almost like a Notre Dame with national following. The Mormons love them some BYU.
Oh, no. I've been telling people that forever. So I've been trying to explain to folks. Literally BYU, Notre Dame,
it's
BYU
the same.
has a national following.
It's a national, I remember, absolutely.
I went to the OU BYU game at Jerry's Circus, and I swear it was probably 60-40 BYU fans.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I did not know y'all existed. I didn't, and I learned a lesson.
I'm telling you, man.
They love.
I've seen BYU games at different times throughout my career. Now, when I was in, since I've been in Vegas now, obviously I had a buddy of mine's a Texas fan that I used to work with, and we went to go watch Texas at BYU. You want to talk about a crazy place to play? They got thumped that day. Yeah, they got really thumped that day.
I want to go to Provo. Can't wait to get to Provo.
Man, I can't wait for that game too. But that's the thing is, you start looking at some of these things. I mean, this conference is going to be the real deal. And if Utah was thinking right about this, because I get it that they're trying to stay in solidarity for the moment, but be a little quieter about it, shut everybody else up about it, and realize that, look, the Holy War added in there, again, rivalries are what makes college football. It is not about the market size so much as, the market that the school is in. Which,
if I'm Brett Yormark, I need the Holy War. That's like a money maker.
Right. Hey, what's up, T? I didn't even know you were in there yet. I didn't see that you were in. Okay, good deal. I'm good to see. Hey, I know you probably know Jay. You're a little loud, so just bring it down just a notch there. But
sorry about that.
Hey, yeah, if you're Yormark, for sure, I would definitely. You want to bring in Utah because of the fact that immediately is one of the biggest rivalries in the. It's immediately one of the biggest rivalries in the country.
Oh, it's definitely top 10. Like if you think about the rivalries across college football, BYU versus Utah. I'm from Ohio. I'm watching BYU versus Utah. I want to see it. Sure. And I don't care about either one of these teams, but I do want to see the Holy War. Because that's
the point. It's compelling football. It's not because they're in LA or they're here or there. It's about what's compelling, right?
Right. It's like I watch Army Navy.
Sure.
That's a compelling football game because the Army versus the Navy. And, it's our armed forces. And you do want to see who's the best amongst the armed forces, too, in that game, too. I think there's a lot of kids who come from high school, go to the armed forces in those schools, and they're great football players, but they choose to serve the country. And so you get to see a lot of that going on, too. So, like, that, I think that's a compelling rivalry, too, like Army versus Navy.
The Army-Navy game is considered the number 1 or 2. No, it's number 2 in ratings as far as rivalry games are concerned. Number 1 being Michigan, Ohio State, and then it's Army-Navy, and then it's the Iron Bowl, and then it is the Red River game after that.
Yeah, Texas, Oklahoma, right?
Right, correct. So, there again, and these are the things that, I mean, if you looked at, and I know we talked about this when you were on my show before, T, that, when you looked at the ratings, even this past year with USC and UCLA did 5.5 million views on television, and which isn't bad, but you know who it didn't catch up to any of the biggest. It only tied Baylor TCU for views.
And that should say a lot about the Big 12 because, like, think about it. The Big 12 is definitely beating out the Pac-12 when it comes to football competition.
The thing you got to remember, though, is that a lot of it is they play so late at night, so it's tougher for you to get as many views. But even in a situation like USC and UCLA, it wasn't played at the latest hour. They played it during the day, and they still only got 5.5 million views. So that tells you that a lot of that is not – it's not necessarily doing it. So, again, a lot of these and the reason I wanted you to come and talk about this, talk about some of these things, these narratives that you see from Gonzano and Wilner and you know, obviously it's in stark contrast to the rest of the country as far as
I think the reporters on the West Coast are trying to save face because this is their livelihood at the end of the day. These individuals make money on the Pac-12. So if the Pac-12 folds, they lose their livelihoods. So the narrative out West is going to be created to try to save that conference, although it doesn't make financial sense for the media partners who pay all the bills.
Right.
So
no doubt
with the media partners don't want to pay for C-level football when they got A-level football in ACC, in the Big Ten, SEC, and they got B-level football in the ACC, which they got under lock for the next 13, 14 years. They ain't got to budge on that, and now they got the Big 12.
They're going to have to if they want to keep those programs relevant. They're going to have to do something. They can't keep it the way it is. They may not have to give up they may not have to that contract may be ironclad enough that they don't have to give up the contract. But if you're ESPN, you're going to torpedo your own product. I don't see that.
Of course not. Why would you? Like, you just had better lawyers at that point in time to get a 13-year deal up out of these people, out of these universities.
Absolutely.
It's a good deal.
You can't torpedo your own product. I think that even if you just pay those 4 schools, Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, and to get them at least close enough where they can continue to stay competitive, that actually helps you if you're ESPN, because you're going to put somebody in there and maybe up to 2 teams a year from the ACC into that playoff, which gets you more money. If you're ESPN, it doesn't make sense to me why you would do anything else, right?
I got them on lock. Now, here's the strategic move that I would probably make. If I was the ACC, I would probably try to get the remnants of the Pac-12 and create East and West and maybe get them locked in. So I got a 13-year deal, and you know what money you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? Save space.
Yeah, I think that if they do that, they'd probably have to blow the deal up. But they've talked about all this stuff. And in the end, look, the bottom line is what I'm seeing is that you're getting all this stuff, but you're not hearing anything out of the only things that you're really hearing out of ESPN or anything else is that we're not going to give them more than $10 million a team. We're not doing it. It doesn't matter if they had SMU. It doesn't matter if they get San Diego State. We don't care about those guys.
I agree with you on that. Those teams don't matter.
Right. And I mean,
because you lost LA.
Draw in Dallas. How the hell is it going to help anything there?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's a desperate move, right? I mean, really and truly, if I was George Kliavkoff, I would really consider taking UNLV over SMU because you get Vegas, you already play your Pac-12 there. But see, they're so arrogant, they don't want to let us stay full in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's the same reason that they're playing the Pac-12 championship game in Vegas now.
It only makes sense to get the school there. You get to play in the NFL stadium. It becomes people go vacation in Vegas all the time. They might want to catch football. You know what I'm saying? College in the fall when the weather's starting to break.
Jay was just in Vegas. What do you think of the new stadium, Jay? Hold on just real quick. See, what do you think of the new stadium out there while you were there? Yeah,
the Raiders stadium. Oh, it's
yeah,
nice.
It looks like Vader's helmet.
I went to the Raiders and Chiefs game in January, and it's pretty. I mean, it looks like a massive like black version of the BOK Center in Tulsa. Because the BOK Center was like massive piece of duct tape just wrapped around in a big old sphere, but it's really neat.
Yeah.
There, that one's like just a big old black black marble. It's pretty dope. I'll give them
Looks
that.
like Darth
They
Vader's
do
helmet, I
really good.
think.
There you go. It's smashed in, kind of like
Yeah.
Spaceballs. That's what it looks like. The
Right,
one from
right.
Spaceballs. It's fantastic. It's totally worth going to. And so finding a way to play games down there, I guess with UNLV, yeah, that would make sense. That would be a good move for the Pac in general, is bringing them in to do that. If
I think so too.
for
And
nothing
again,
else.
right, I feel like that's what you kind of got to do. But then that's where you're starting to run into Stanford is saying no to this now. Now remember that whenever they were trying to get if you listen to the Arizona president, he was saying, let's get every Big 12 school and bring them all. But I heard Texas Tech, Baylor, Oklahoma State, and and TCU would have been who they were going to invite. And of course, who said no to it was USC and UCLA were saying no to it. And I think Stanford was in on that as well. But now, apparently, even with San Diego State, Stanford is adamant that they don't want them in the conference. Fresno State, same kind of thing, So it's kind of one of those deals where it's just kind of it's a tough deal, for those guys that these schools, and you're running into this, looking down your nose at everybody's stuff, and it's hard, man, for those guys. I just don't understand where they feel like they, oh man, it's just funny on that end of it. But none of that has anything to do with money and revenue that's being generated by your conference when it comes to college football. You can say what you want about the grants that they get for their research. Fine. I know that that's more than college football, but you're not going to lose your research from AAU because your football team plays in Texas. You're not moving the whole school to Texas.
100% correct.
It's not, it doesn't make any sense, But anyway, we can kind of move on from that. I've kind of had enough of that talk myself. We'll kind of look at, okay, here's the next one I wanted to ask you about, Jay. So Jimbo Fisher, good old Jimbo, has, we talked last year, and obviously it's been a big topic of conversation that his offense is trash now, and that he needed to quit calling plays. That's what they've decided to blame everything on from last season, was the offense. And it was the part of they only had 28 points in 2 games or something like that.
Something
I think. Yeah. So he hires Bobby Petrino to be the offensive coordinator. And apparently it was for him to come in, call plays, to do some things a little different, pare down what they were doing. But the very, very first press conference of the spring, the very first question, he gets angry and pretty much isn't committing to to allowing Petrino to call the plays. Did you see
Hey,
this?
well, Jimbo's under a lot of pressure right now because he hasn't been winning down there.
Did you watch this press conference, T?
I can't say I did. No, I did not. But I can just watch in college football, understand that Jimbo's been under 3 years now.
Bro, he's not under that much pressure, and I'll tell you why. They still owe him $85 million. He can tell them, fire me. He has all the leverage here. He's going to get his money.
Well, he's going to get his money. Well, I'm talking about as far as pressure to win. I mean, at the end of the day.
What is that pressure to win, though? You've got a freaking 9 years left on your deal.
Oh, I mean, like I know, like the external pressure that.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say.
Ahead,
go ahead.
No. Go ahead, T.
Finish, T.
I was going to just say that external pressures, like even social media, like just the narrative around Jimbo Fisher, especially when Texas come in there, and if Texas start winning, they're going to call for his head. They might have to pay it out. They got oil money, right? That was it.
Okay, well,
see, that's the one thing I disagree with on that is the thought that Texas A&M wants to come up with $200 million to get rid of Jimbo Fisher. They're not going to do it. I understand that it's oil money, and oil money goes up and down a lot. Those billionaires at certain points, they do have their limits on what they want to spend on certain people. And if they don't like you, they ain't going to try to give you. They're trying to find a way to fire him with cause. That way they don't have to pay him. But coming up with $200 million, it's too much. Maybe ask yourself,
I think it's 85 right now. But why were you getting 200?
No. It's 200 mil because they fire him. The next person they hire will not take less than what he took.
That's true. Unless it's UTSA's Robert Traylor.
You're an idiot. He would be an idiot to take that job and take less than Jimbo Fisher. If you're okay with paying that man $97 million for 5 wins, you're paying me $100 million so that I can get maybe what he got. I'm just saying that. True. And don't forget this. The last thing to remember,
I think they would pay the $100 million if they knew they were going to win a national championship.
But that's the thing.
I totally disagree. First off, I don't think the next person is going to make Jimbo money.
Bro,
I mean, you want to be in Texas. If you're the coach, the coach anywhere else, like a UTSA or any other lower level coach, you want to get an SEC, and you'll take less. Jimbo got a national title. Don't forget that. Jimbo still won a national championship, so like he gonna live on that. But no, they're not going to pay him $200 million. I mean,
you got to remember. That's the thing to remember. That's the thing to remember. Right. There's one agent in the SEC, and there's one thing that this one agent in the SEC loves more than his family. It's money, and he is not going to let a single coach get that job and make less than his last client did.
I'll give you that, and
that's what he does.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
They'll get him in major coach just to fill a stopgap.
No, they won't. No, they won't. They never would.
Because what's going to happen is that the moment that Jimbo Fisher gets bought out, if they find a way to buy him out, the next person that school talks to, they're going to immediately call Jimmy Sexton, or Jimmy Sexton's going to call them. Or Jimmy Sexton's going to call the school and say, hey, I got a list of 5 coaches for you already ready. Let me know what you want to do.
Right. No.
The school ain't gonna pass.
I mean, he's Jeff Lebby's freaking agent and BV's agent. You know what I mean?
Right. That's my point. That dude,
he ain't going nowhere.
The South.
And that's the whole point is, and here's the reason why. And T, I get what you're saying, that you would take that job for less if you're say, like we were talking about UTSA's Robert Traylor.
If you're moving up, they might want to save money. I'm agreeing with you on that.
Do that, but he's not going to do that though, because if you're firing Jimbo Fisher, who's won a national championship and who you are paying $100 million to, you're only doing that because you think you got a chance to win a national championship if you get him the hell out of there. Right. So you're not going to go get a half-assed coach to replace Jimbo Fisher with. Who really thinks
Texas A&M is winning the national championship? Who thinks that?
They do.
That doesn't matter. No, I think at some point in time they get tired of that, and they'll say they'll take a lower tier coach who's been proven over. They're gonna switch it out. They're gonna keep going $100 million coaches.
Bro, you're from Ohio, and let me tell you, it's different there. It's different. Think about Ohio State. Stop and listen to me real quick. At what point would Ohio State decide that it isn't important to win a national damn championship? At what point?
They're about to fire Ryan Day because he ain't beating Michigan. Like they get rid of these guys like it's nothing.
Okay, think about that. So if Ohio State will do it now, amplify that crap by 10 because this team ain't won one since what's his name? What was crap?
A long time.
Damn, the 1940s probably since they won a damn national championship, bro. And they've been getting their ass kicked. They've been getting their ass kicked by Texas forever. They have the same kind of record against Texas as Okie Light has against Oklahoma. Period. So, but they still think that they are on the level and they want to compete. They will not. There will never be a guy like they wouldn't even. I promise you this: they wouldn't hire Lance Leipold down there. They wouldn't hire, and not to say they shouldn't. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't.
Hey, somebody should check to see how much Kevin Sumlin got out of them.
Yeah, it's less, but But
How
Kevin
much
Sumlin,
less? That's what I'm saying. Like they overpaid for Jimbo.
okay,
They
here's
went
the
cheap
other
with
point I
Kevin
was going to try to
Sumlin.
make there.
Well,
Think about
you
this.
can't
Do you
compare
think
the
that-
two because they overpaid for Jimbo because Jimbo has a national championship.
Correct.
The next coach they go after is going to be somebody that's won a national championship.
Or is on the verge of it, or so I could see them
Right.
going after.
But
Lincoln
they
maybe or
got
something
one,
like that,
y'all.
but it
That's
would
what I'm saying. They got one right now.
He sucks.
He's trash though.
I'm not sure if you've watched or seen what Texas A&M's done. They have a lot of losing
Bro,
seasons.
they
with
won
the guys
5 games
that
last
coach
year.
Hey, to my homie, I probably forgotten more college football than you seen.
But bro, come on now. All right. Hey, anyway,
I don't know about
T,
that. If you think that Jimbo
I don't know
Fisher's
about
be
that
good.
either, man. Do you watch this guy's show? This bottom line is when it comes to Texas A&M, this is it's not we're not talking about a program that is thinking in the terms of thinking what's the word I'm looking for here? Having any kind of they're not.
It's economics,
bro. They've won like freaking 15 times against Texas. They're not, and they're as rich as they are, and they fill that damn stadium up every weekend, and they still don't win. And they'll still tell you that they are on an equal playing field with Texas, and they're not. They're not.
Hey, Jason, here you go. They've had
we agree
10-win seasons since '98. 2.
Mm-hmm.
They've had 2 10-win seasons since '98.
I don't remember them ever, aside from the Johnny football year with Sumlin. And then of course the COVID year where they thought they should be in the playoff. But that year that they went in and beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, that's the only season I can remember that I thought they were worth the shit. It just really is. But you still heard from them all the time. All the freaking time. But the bottom line is that they went and paid, and they went and overpaid for him. First off, this wasn't his contract until last year when they had to pay it, because otherwise he was going to go back to LSU because they were going to pay him that. And they still wanted to keep him, or at least he convinced them of that. Him and Jimmy did. So they wanted Lincoln Riley. They ended up having to pay Kelly the same amount. And I don't know that anybody thinks that Kelly is worth the same amount of money as these other guys. I like Kelly myself. I don't like him. I think he's a great coach, though.
No, he coached his butt off. That's the crazy
part.
Coach
his ass off. He's the all-time winningest coach in Notre Dame history.
We went and looked at his numbers, man. And when I think it was with Ty, and I think that Brian Kelly's had 2 losing seasons in the 19 years that he's coached. He's had only 8 seasons out of those 19 years that didn't have double-digit wins. Like, the man knows what he's doing. If there was somebody,
and I think that he's a problem for everybody already.
That A&M would throw money at would be Brian Kelly. Yeah. That would be someone to throw money at to try to pry him from LSU. He'd be worth it. He would be worth it because he get them.
Why do you leave LSU though? I mean, you'd have to throw more money. Why do you leave?
And that's my point. You're not getting what they want because as much as we want to think that economically they would try to think with economics. No. They think with delusion.
That's the word I was looking for. Delusional.
Every fan base
freaking
thinks
delusional.
with delusion. Every single fan base thinks with delusion. The only thing they think about is national championships. Even the ones that have 0 chance of getting 2-1. That's all we think about. We all focus our mind on winning a national championship. And so for them, they're already spending a ton of money on a coach that the only benefit they can get from him is him winning a national championship and you having bragging rights. Because this investment that all these boosters do in the college sports ain't getting them anything besides bragging rights. So there's no economics.
You're not buying anything from it. You're not getting anything else for your money.
Zero benefit besides bragging rights. Think about it. Think about that with the boosters, man. Think about that. Yeah. People be putting all this money into these schools, man, and like it's the most fascinating thing in the world to me because I look at it like you're really willing to throw all this money and pay players under the table just to get bragging rights. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like there's nothing.
Look at what else. SMU did. I mean, and that was the total show of cash. All those oil men in Dallas. They bought and paid for every freaking oh man, every freaking one of those guys that were on that SMU team with Eric Dickerson and Craig, what's his name? Craig James. Those
Yeah,
dudes,
Craig
bro.
James, because his boy was at
Dude,
Texas Tech.
dude,
Yeah, crazy.
yes, that little pain in the ass. But yes, and it was, dude, I'm telling you,
It's
I think about that. I
wild.
think about that story all the time, and I'm like, they were so wanted to beat Texas and Oklahoma that they went and just they killed the school. They killed the program for it. Even after they got caught the first 2 times, they didn't give a shit. They kept on doing it, buying them all the 280Zs and all that stuff, the gold 280Zs. Remember, that was their thing.
It's a fascinating concept, man. It's a fascinating concept that
Crazy.
that boosters live in, like the world they live in. This illusion. This is just, it's a fascinating world for me, because I'm just trying to figure out what is the benefit. But that's the thing, is and I totally understand. T has logic. That's the problem with what he said. It was
right.
all
And I'm gonna
logic. There was no
Right.
logic in this situation. There's
and that's the
logic in
what
college
I was trying to say, and I was missing the word. But there's no logical thinking going on at Texas A&M.
It's
If
all
you've been to
delusion.
College Station, you know this.
Yeah, there's no logic.
They're just a different group of folks, man. And it's almost, and I do compare it to very similarly, except for without the success, to Ohio State, because they are way out on freaking in left field too about stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kim's got a good
their
point here,
expectation,
too, so
huh?
I say Kim's got a great point here that the side bets that they could potentially get is definitely worth it. Could recoup some money, but it's still so much money that they burn into college sports, man. It's at that point when you're well, the thing about it is when you're at their level of money, this is all about just stroking their ego. That's it. Like, I mean, we could throw a couple dollars here and there to NIL collectives, and we feel good about ourselves. Now they're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars because they got money to burn and they ain't got nothing else to do with their time. I'm bored.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and spend $100 million here, and then I'm gonna go spend another $10 million.
These are guys that fly
bored.
in from freaking Dallas to they get on their private jet and fly from Dallas into freaking College Station,
right,
on Saturdays.
Set a board.
It's like it's a few hours by yeah. And Sean, are you crazy? A&M's actually built to win one. They may be built to win. They've always been built to win one. Okay. Don't get it twisted. They get players. They've always got players. Before you were allowed to pay, they still got players. And they still have how many 10-win seasons since 1998? Jay?
10 wins?
2.
Oh my God. They've only had one lose. We've only had one losing season since the Stoops era.
Texas A&M, how many 10-win seasons has
A&M
A&M
since
had?
98, they've only had 2. They've only had 2 10-win seasons.
And every year they got good recruiting classes. I promise, Sean.
Every year.
I promise.
Every year. They A&M has the resources to have one. It's them in Texas is always the most interesting thing about how they somehow can't win, even with all the resources they have and the win and the rankings in their classes. It's just for some reason they can't do it. And remember, all those 5 stars that went there, what was that, last season when they had they set the record for the most 5 stars to come into class, and then Alabama broke it this year?
No, they have the best recruiting class in the history of recruiting.
All of them but one are gone.
Yes.
All of them but one is gone.
And they re-upped their money today. I mean, how what they paid, who knows? Because I know it was 30 million was the number. But that was the weird thing, is that you're allowed to do it, and Jimbo was standing on the table screaming that they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, we didn't do it.
What the hell's the matter with you, Jimbo? The point is, we got kind of off topic on this whole thing. The point of the whole thing was this. You have a guy who has the leverage because they would have to pay him to fire him. Or he can say, kiss my ass, I will call the plays. I've always called the plays. He said that in his press conference the other day.
Yeah.
That this is my thing. I've always called the plays. We're going to do it that way. He kind of went back at the end of the press conferences, was like, because they asked him who is going to call the plays. And he was like, we don't know yet. And then he was like, you can assume that it's going to be Bobby. Can we, Jimbo?
I don't
Because
understand why his ego doesn't allow him to say that, look, me calling the plays has not worked, so I had to replace myself. At a certain point, you need to go ahead and just step up and be a man and say,
again,
I was the problem.
College coaches, though, they're not going to say that. Do you think? I don't know why they wouldn't, but he's not going to do that. I think that Bobby Petrino is probably one of the best play callers in the country. I mean, it's other problems with him. He doesn't call the right plays for his personal life.
You don't want him leading your team. You want him to just call plays.
Right. Now, again, I just feel like this is, I mean, he doesn't have anything that he has to do it for, though. You know what I mean?
No, it's a fair point. I think Hank's right. This is our water cooler. We always on track. And you're right. We just going at it because it's always a good time.
It's fun.
But I do believe, and I'm with you on the Petrino is one of those that Jimbo needs to embrace the fact that he brought him there for a reason. We're laughing at them because it's Bobby Petrino and all the stuff that's going on, but it made sense to bring in a veteran play caller to be able to help fix the problems you have there, where you're not winning games. You went 5-7 last year with all the talent in the world, and the one thing that we've learned most about Jimbo Fisher is that he sucks at recruiting quarterbacks.
Yes, he does. Although it looks like the guy that played at the end of the year was really good. I mean, he lit up LSU.
I mean, y'all want to say that. I mean, that's nice of you. But do you really believe that?
Well, no, I watched that one game, and he looked pretty good. But that doesn't mean that he's going to do it every week.
Give me the best quarterback that Jimbo Fisher had after Jameis Winston.
Oh, probably the guy that he didn't recruit. The guy that just left a couple years ago. What's his name? Oh, and he wasn't great. Jamie, give me or James. I know you know who we're talking about. Kellen Mond. There it is. Thank you, Bobby. Kellen Mond. Yeah, that's probably the best guy, right? And he ain't great. And he didn't recruit him either, by the way. He did. That's not his guy.
I mean, I'm looking back at him even in his Florida State days, and I mean, 2010 he had a solid year. That wasn't his quarterback. Let's look at 2010 Florida State. Who was his quarterback in 2010? You were Christian Ponder.
Mm-hmm.
The next year when they went 9-4, they had EJ Manuel. Somehow he got EJ Manuel drafted in the first round because he had some solid seasons, and then you had Jameis Winston walking.
Yeah, he was good. That was pre-Jameis, correct?
Yep. EJ was the year before. Jameis went back-to-back years, and then you had Everett Golson.
Jamarcus, but that was when he was obviously coaching with Saban, right?
Who?
Jamarcus Russell. That was at LSU, so that was with Saban. That's not his guy.
Yeah, that was under Saban. That was Saban. That was a Saban. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not his guy.
We saw what Jamarcus turned into. But DeAndre Francois, we saw what he did.
He got in trouble
with him.
Right? He got in trouble with him, right? He had to leave.
Yeah, and he wasn't very good. And then you had James Blackman. Like, I'm looking at all these Florida State quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. None of them are in the league anymore.
I mean,
I don't even know if Kellen Mond's still in the league, but he wasn't even his guy, you know?
Yeah, I think Kellen Mond was
that's definitely Sumlin's guy.
He's Sumlin. He feels like a Sumlin guy.
He is a Sumlin guy.
Yep. Kellen Mond was there before Jimbo got there.
He is. Yep. Correct.
Yeah, he started quarterback the year before.
Yeah,
he was there with Sumlin. So yeah,
no doubt. And that's another thing to note. Another thing to note is this: Jimbo now has a worse record than they fired Sumlin with.
Yeah. Well, the only reason why Jimbo's still there is that contract. I'm telling y'all.
That contract. They talked them into that. because
the
I don't know
contract
that
wasn't a
LSU really wanted
problem,
him anymore, huh?
if they wanted to fire him, he would have been gone after a 5-7 season, after
Sure.
having the best historical recruiting class in recruiting history. There is no reason for us to think that A&M wants to pay him a buyout.
No, they
I'll
don't.
leave it at that.
If they wanted to buy him out, they would have done it. You're exactly right, 100%, 1,000%.
And Kellen Mond was a 5-star coming out of high school, but he was also a Kevin Sumlin recruit. You are 100% right.
So what is the let's go 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely, 1 being never happened. Probability of Bobby Petrino calling plays. Throw it in the comments, folks.
10.
Probability of Bobby Petrino calling the plays. 10? It's going to happen.
The plays. Yeah, he's going to call plays. He has to. Have you not seen the way that they played over the last?
Brother, I have. And I also saw the press conference the other day that told me that he hired him. I don't think he cares that he's there. I don't think he cares that he's there. I really don't, man.
To me, if you don't bring in an offensive mind to not put him to work. Not for him to sit on the sideline and collect a check. I don't care what.
Listen, man. Now you're Jason, starting to talk about logical freaking things with Jason, Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher.
I'm not hiring you to be on my sideline and you just stand.
They're not paying me that much. The dude he's reclaimed trash, man. Come on.
Then why would you bring him in? Why bring in a controversial figure if you're not going to put him to work?
Well, I think that they kind of talked him into that. But again, this is the first thing that I read in that story on The Athletic was like, what he says today and what happens in October could be completely different.
Yeah,
right? I just don't see it.
If we really think that he's not going to be having that man.
I think that he's going to try it, but I think that he's also going to get in the way. I don't think that Jimbo can help himself. I don't think he can help himself. Look at how he had to get the last word about the $30 million for the recruiting class last year. Look at that.
No, I get it.
He had to, even after everybody knew he was full of shit, he still came in there to that next press conference and said, did you see what our compliance people said? You guys are all lying. No, bro. No. It's because the school doesn't pay. It's your UIL fundraising that's doing all that. Come on. But that's what he thought he had something for everybody. And he's always going to, man, I don't think that the dude gives it up. I'm going to say 2, but we'll see where it falls on that. Folks, what's your numbers? Hank's got a 3. James has a 10, so he's with you on that. Okay. Who else? What's the probability that he actually allows him to call the plays all year, guys? Give it to me in there. While you're at it, if you haven't hit the like button, please do so. That is very, very important. Also, if you haven't, if you don't know already, Jay actually started. It's kind of a new podcast. The way you're off your channel, is that what you're doing with the Sooner or Later, right? You're on your Wednesday nights, your lives.
It's a Sooner focused pod stream. I'm gonna do my streams on Sundays. We'll be doing that. My goal is to do that through the summer and all the way into the season, to just live streaming, and not only live stream, but have a podcast version that will come out where we just record and talk Sooner stuff, man. Whatever's going down, we'll probably have a lot of this water cooler talk going on with it. Get all of your thoughts and opinions. So hit up the channel, follow us. It was Hank hits like 3 days in advance before you even put it up.
He does. He likes to be the first one to do it. It's funny.
Yep. We send him an award. I'm gonna get you a T-shirt, Hank. You need to tell me what size you want. We're gonna make the magic happen for you. But yeah, we do the Sooner or Later podcast where we just, talk Sooner stuff. That is all Sooner stuff, all Sooner focus, just so we can have a good time.
Yeah. Cool. So let's see. We've got 8s. We've got 8s, 5s. Somebody's kind of Jimmy's about midway, about halfway there. Yeah.
Interesting.
8s. I mean, yeah. Did it 2 hours before. Yeah, I had 2 in there today. Yeah, Hawaiian Ice is my boy too. They make sure they get in there and take care of it. We only have 10 likes so far, and there's 16 in here right now, folks. So a few user light on likes. So help us out here on that. Bobby 5 with Jimbo input. With Jimbo input. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Yeah, that's the point. I think that there's going to be a lot of Jimbo input. I wouldn't be surprised. I believe that this is going to blow up. I just think it's going to blow up. And I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious. 11. An 11. Wow. Okay. Cool. 11 now. Cool. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Good. Keep putting them in there. Jim put. I love it. You guys are hilarious. There's not 12 likes in there. I only see 11 so far, but that's great. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate that. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can always do that with tips. Of course, we do have, you can either do it through Venmo, Cash App, or hit that super chat heart. And look, if you hadn't checked out our new store, some of the new items in the store, you should definitely do that. I don't know, and some of you guys have already been paying attention to the way past due for the Hall of Fame for Otis Taylor that we've been doing. I appreciate that a lot. I'm actually getting ready to have another amazing guest on there coming up here in the next week or so. This is a former first round draft pick, all-pro defensive back that played at Florida State and for the Atlanta Falcons. He was obviously pre-Otis Taylor, but this is a man who obviously grew up watching Otis Taylor play football. This man, and Jay, I don't know how much you know about this or how much you know about Otis. If you haven't checked out that channel, I was going to talk to you about that anyway. This is probably a top 5 at minimum all-time receiver. He doesn't get his
due,
his recognition because of the era that he played in, the team that he played for that didn't throw the football enough, and the fact that that inferiority claim of the AFL stuff was a lot of it. There's a lot to it, but we are doing our best. And he just passed away a couple weeks ago, so a couple weeks away tomorrow. So
went to PV.
Man, he was on. Yeah, absolutely. And that's how I kind of got involved in it. I got a couple of friends that went to Prairie View, and they had a group that wanted to get Otis Taylor into the Hall of Fame. They got me involved in it. We got him to the semifinal rounds as far as he's been, and we did it in a short amount of time. But it's time for him to be in the Hall of Fame. It's too bad that we don't give these guys their flowers while they're still with us.
Right.
You've seen a lot of that from the Hall of Fame lately. And it's about time that the Hall of Fame get it together. I'm just going to say it's time for them to get it together and start putting these guys in that deserve to be in. He's by far not the only one. You got guys like Lamar Parrish, who was in 8-time out of 10-year career. He had 8 Pro Bowls and 3 All-Pro seasons, first team All-Pro seasons, 5 total All-Pro seasons, and has never been discussed for the Hall of Fame. What the hell? You know what I mean? It's this goes on way too much. All right. Anybody else want to jump in? You're welcome to jump in with us here. Tell us talk to me about what Jay, main reason I wanted you to come in. You and PG have the pulse of recruiting and obviously what's been going on in spring practices. Tell me what you think and what you're hearing.
Spring practices is looking good, man. Going through everything, listening to the insiders and everything. No problem at all. I'd love to pull up, but it's been your size. First off, quarterback Jackson Arnold cooking. He's cooking.
Bro,
videos.
That's what I knew where we were headed with that.
We're ready for him in the future. The future is going to be bright with him out there. Dylan Gabriel's doing his thing as well, and the good thing is it looks like that he's not holding back this year. I can totally expect a different version of him. I can expect the freshman year version of him at UCF. My expectation is 4,000 yards this season.
Okay.
Now, The only
could see
place that
that.
I'm wondering is going to be what wide receivers are going to look like, because it's going to be Jalil Farouk, and it's going to be there's a plethora of options afterwards. I don't know who's going to step up yet. We'll talk about that more in detail when I get to the wide receivers right before the spring game. Every Sunday we're breaking down the position groups. And so looking at the secondary and the linebackers are the first two we've already done. I have a linebacker video coming out tomorrow, just kind of a break off from the live. But there's a lot of players that are going to walk in and start taking some spots. I think that the offensive line is pretty sold up. Defensive line wise, Marcus Hicks is leaving the offensive line and going to the defensive line, and he may actually play DT because he's over 300.
Is that right?
And he looks healthy. And that's what Venables was saying in his presser, is that if they can keep him healthy, they think that he's going to have an impact year. And the way he looks like, I can totally agree. Watching the early enrollees come out, like I mentioned, Jackson Arnold looks good. PJ Adebayo is terrifying everybody to the point of don't be shocked if he starts playing. Hey, man, I've been on the Adebayo train since day. I bought all of his stock back when we were looking
when
at
he was a 3-star. Yeah.
Well, he reminds me of Javon Curse. And everybody remembers how Javon Curse was. He was tall.
I've heard you say that before, and I started thinking about it. I was like, he is like Javon Curse.
Huge hands and a wide wingspan. Dude has his intangibles are stupid. My point is, if he's the one player I'm keeping my eye the most on, that he can eventually go out there and play early. They're saying the same thing about Peyton Bowen right now. They're saying that, he was worth all the drama because he looks like someone that could probably take somebody's position quickly. That's how much of a monster he is.
Athletic as get out, dude.
Freaking athletic. And so looking through, just reading the reports and looking through some of the videos and stuff, man, transfers coming in. Everything about the first day.
Bothroyd and some of these other guys that you're thinking about, that are coming in from these transfer portals that are going to help a lot with coming on that defensive line. I think about guys like, I've said this a bunch, but, you start looking at guys like Makari Vickers. That guy shut down the entire side of the field, his entire side of the field in the All-American game. That dude is a stud. Then Samuel Omosiho is a stud.
There's a lot of talent, man. Hey, Deshaun McCullough.
Bro, I was just about to ask you about him too. Yes.
There's a picture of him standing next to Justin Harrington.
Oh, what's up, Jay?
What's good?
Go ahead. No, hold on.
And standing next to Coach BV. And when I saw the size of that dude, I was like, oh, we're not playing at that cheetah role. He's the cheetah. That is his,
bro.
And we will respect him.
They're all between 6'4" and 6'6" or something like that. All the guys
Harrington
that are probably going to play cheetah.
6'2", 6'3". Deshaun is 6'5", and he's all of 6'5", and it says 2 1/4. I'm thinking more 230, but I'm gonna take the official. It may be all muscle. That's why he looks so huge.
The dude's a monster, though, right? Oh, dude. Yeah. We're going to welcome on the first another caller here, Hawaiian Ice. Thanks, bud, for coming in to
what up, bro?
Hello,
dropping in on us, man. How you been?
Pretty good. I think this whole Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold thing, I think it's going to be like the Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams thing. I think it's going to be a battle completely. I think it's going to be he comes in, he gets the job, and Dylan Gabriel goes out. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing.
Well, I hope that's not the case too, because that's putting a lot on him, right? I mean, that's putting a lot on a freshman, even though what I would tell you about Jackson is this. Everything that I've seen about him is that he's unreal, first and foremost. But number two, he's played in probably the best division in high school football in the entire country. When you talk about Texas 6A, you've got, 60 different schools that are just unbelievable in 2 different divisions of it. And he's lost 3 games in his career?
Yep.
I mean,
on that now, I think Jackson Arnold's ready. Don't get it twisted.
I think he's ready too.
I'm saying that right. I don't want him to play. I think more so, I don't want the drama that came behind that Spencer Caleb piece, but at the same time, some folks jumped in and comments and made mention about the Rattler piece. With that, is that a lot of people saw Rattler as a diva, and so there was a lot of animosity for him in general. But I do think that when JA goes out there, he's starting for 2 years and he's going to the league. I don't think that we're going to be able to keep him around for longer than 2. He's ready, and I say he's ready is because the system that he ran in Denton Guyer is a borderline replica of what they run here. Lebby's the coach there at Denton Guyer was roommates with Jeff Lebby back in the day. They're friends. They run a similar system that Baylor Art Briles set up, and so he knows the calls. It's just different verbiage, but he knows it. He knows the system. He knows the ratios. He knows the reads. So I think if anything, it pushes Dillon Gabriel to be better. Yeah. And then we prepare.
That's where I was coming in at. I feel like you want to see that because iron sharpens iron, guys, right? I mean, on Hawaii Nights, I think I understand where you're at on it, and that he's going to push Dillon. I think that Dillon's going to have to play very well to keep his job.
Well, it was a lot of timing. It was a lot of timing with his throws. I mean, every time he threw, it either gets swatted or he missed deep balls, right? So I think it was a lot of timing, and he's a lot shorter than the other guys, somewhat. Yeah. And so it's a lot. He has to throw a lot harder. I think a lot harder with the throws.
My thing about it with Dillon was this and you didn't see a ton of that early when he got hurt though, and they started keeping him in the pocket, and they weren't letting him run. If with a guy like him, you kind of think of Baker. Baker was always and still is at his best when you let him get out of the pocket and throw from there, open up those passing lanes that way. Correct. Yeah, right. You let him get off script a little bit, but it was really obvious that they could not allow him to get hurt. After the first time he got hurt, look at what happened. There was nobody there.
Wasn't ready now, and Bevel.
That's what I was talking. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was like, you're good. No, I was say Booty wasn't ready, which I think Booty will be ready this year. I think Booty may be the backup this season. Just let Jackson Arnold just chill and get bigger and stronger, prep for the SEC.
Sure.
But that was the thing. Booty wasn't ready, and Bevel, we saw what he did. And I don't think he was ready either because, remember, when we got those transfers, we got them at the end of the cycle. And so we were scraping, honestly, at the bottom of the barrel because we were in for Jackson Dart. I do wish we would have worked harder to get Dart because it would have been good to have Dart with Gabriel battling it out. And you never know which one would have ended up taking it. Now, Lebby wanted Gabriel because not only is this his dude, but he already knew the system, so it was one less person to teach.
Correct.
It was more of a go out there, you teach them. And unfortunately, it takes time in a complex offense to get everybody taught. So.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people think that the offense was so much the same to what Lincoln's was. It's not. It's not the same.
Dramatic difference. They're two
correct. The verbiage is different. The routes are different. The entirety of the entire thought process that they go through. I mean, they literally, what was it that Spencer was saying about going to South Carolina? He was talking about how you had 1 or 2 word play calls at Oklahoma, and over there, they're calling it like a pro system. It's kind of the similar to what you're talking about the similarity is there. That's why I've been saying about TCU, I don't think that there's any way in hell that Kendall going in there, particularly with, bringing, it's a new system in there. They're going to have a trouble. And I feel like they are, because if you look at their quarterback, he came from Oklahoma. He was with Lincoln, and then he was with Lincoln's brother. And so they were running the same thing. And now you got Kendall coming in, and it's a different deal. And I think that you saw more of the problem was with the receivers than anything else last year, of having to pick up the nuances of it, right? The nuances of that offense. And then holding on to the football, timing was off. You're right about that, Hawaiian Nights. The timing was definitely off. But I was
also talking to a friend the other day, and I mentioned this to you a couple of weeks ago, and he said, with kind of like the way we're doing defense now, and also the offensive line, why don't we go back to the wishbone? Because you had 3 people to receive it to. You had You could pass it outside. You could run it, or the quarterback could run it. So you have 4 ways all around, right? And I grew up with older people. I grew up with the older generation, with Barry Switzer and stuff like that. And so, nobody.
I'm a wishbone loving fool, man. I promise you, I love that, but this is never going to happen.
I don't think any of the younger people would know what it was, because back when they stopped it, people were getting used to it. They were starting to see it, and Barry Switzer was like, well, he said, well, why don't we go back to the wishbone, since this is kind of like the offense we're running kind of thing, with Dylan Gabriel being kind of short, and it's kind of, just run it.
But Dylan can throw it, though. People acting like he can't throw it are crazy, man. The dude has won a lot of games.
No, but every deep throw he either threw, it was a little too high, it was too over the person, or the receiver would drop it. See, and I wouldn't say
everyone. You got to look at those last 2 games. I know that they were losses. He had 500 yards against Tech, and he was pretty close to that against Florida State too, bro. He can throw.
Fun, and it's funny that you say that Hawaiian that the drops. I mean, there was 6 drop touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely
calculated,
and he still and he only threw 6 interceptions.
We lost 5 games by one score,
Yeah,
we lost 5.
Yeah,
and if those passes were caught,
we would have been great.
We would have probably won. We would have won 4 of them.
Look at West Virginia game that you had the offsides call, or that he just left a little early on that screenplay that you had Braden just across that line of scrimmage before the ball got thrown. Little stupid crap like that is what happened, and so I'm. Look, man, and you know this. You've been on this show enough, Hawaiian Ice, to know that I am not that dude that allows this game. We're not going to do Dylan Gabriel bashing in here. And I know you're not.
I like him. I like him. I he was great at UCF. He was great. I mean, literally, I watched all his old videos from the UCF. He was.
I also think that, right, and he is. And the thing is like I really feel like you saw how good he looked early. I mean, he had a 60-yard touchdown run. He was. I mean, they were letting him do whatever. Once he got hurt, and by the way, TCU hurt almost every quarterback in the freaking country or in the conference last year. But
TCU really got game. I mean, they got that whole new coaching staff. They went all hands.
They did, and they had a bunch of super seniors too. But I think they're about to have a huge letdown this year. I really do. I don't think you can get blown out like that in front of God and everybody and not have a hangover the next year.
Georgia, but just Georgia kind of pounded them, and they just went and
it's like they were starstruck. National TV, man. Yeah,
it was like starstruck.
They got thumped. They just got drolled. Now, what I would tell you is what you saw out of the offense towards the end of the year, it was enough to win any game if you weren't 124 out of 131 on defense.
Well, my family was also in Nebraska. We were big Nebraska fans, right? And they used to be
everybody
a powerhouse.
Loves the wishbone if you're a Nebraska fan.
They used to be a powerhouse, and now it's like their whole staff is broken up. It's weird. It's like with I don't know his first name, but it was Frost. He was burnt out. He was completely burnt. I mean, literally, he was just burnt out. And then they bring this guy in.
I'll tell you, Jay has a good one about these Nebraska guys, and here's the thing, and this was something that I'd forgotten, but even like with Tommy Frazier, they were huge with JUCO kids, first off. But when they went to the Big Ten and didn't win right away, they kind of lost their pipeline to Texas too,
Yeah.
But go ahead, Jay. What was it? I mean, how big was that? Was the JUCO thing was Tom Osborne's thing, right?
Yeah, that was a huge thing that he did there. Is he lived in the JUCO, I guess you could say, portal, and brought in a lot of those players that he found his way. I forgot what the term is, and I know somebody in the comments will be able to point that out. But that was kind of one of their plays. It was that, and he filled a lot of holes with that. And Nebraska back then was also producing a lot of really good talent back then. They just haven't got to that point.
I remember that black shirt defense, man. They were so nasty.
Florida used to be really good. I see the comment. He said, "Why Florida? Florida used to be great." And I think they're still good. They just need the talent, right? And I think they have some good coaches out there, but they just need to get the talent. It's about talent.
I don't know what I think of G5 Billy, but but that's just me. And F is for Fanatics is probably going to freak out for me saying that, and High Top. But
Didn't
yeah,
Florida State, didn't they beat Florida, or was it the opposite? Because I remember watching
no,
the game.
Florida
With the
State won
hype.
that. Florida State looks.
That was-
Hey man, they may be back. I think Mike
Yeah.
Norvell is the real deal. I think if
That
we're
was a
talking
great
about
game.
coaches in the Sunshine State right now, I think Mike Norvell's the guy.
That was a great game, though. You got to give it to Florida and Florida State. That was pretty good. They went head to head. That was with OU and Florida State. That was head to head matchup.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
That was.
Thanks
great.
for coming in, man. I'm gonna let James on here too as well. And then but thanks for coming in your comments. And stick around and continue on with the conversation. But hey man, I appreciate you jumping on.
You are so welcome. On anytime, man. Anytime. Just ask me on. Anytime.
All right, man. Thank you.
Peace.
All right. So the next thing, just to answer Lone Stars, these are my boys from the Lone Star. Why would you have Florida as your only opponent? That's a good question. I mean, to me, the thing is that Allie Peak, her show is I trust what she's saying. She has insiders within the program, and it's not just her saying it. I've heard it from Ephes, from Fanatics, and from High Top Sports that's a possibility. It seems like that would. And here's what it would be. I can tell you why it would work. Because A&M doesn't want to play you guys anymore, Christian. They don't want to play you.
No, A&M wants Texas. Texas didn't want A&M initially, but now it's like, yeah, we'll play them.
You think it's that way?
Yeah. Because that was the thing about it is that once A&M left, Texas was like, no, we're not going to schedule you in our non-conference. Why would we do that? We beat the crap out of you all the time. We don't want to play against you people. We don't like y'all like that. And so
I thought for sure that was A&M wanting out of that one. That they didn't. I mean, they left the conference, but I didn't think that they had any thoughts of playing Texas anymore. And that's I know for sure is this. They were the ones that leaked the information about Texas and Oklahoma discussing it with the SEC. And
I can see that.
because they wanted them not to end up in the conference, and they've been unhappy about it. So anyway, I'm not that surprised. All right, James, we're gonna let him into the stream for real quick here. What's up, bud? How we doing?
Pretty good. If the storm is too loud, let me know. But Oklahoma spring, storms all the time.
That's what we do, baby.
Yeah. Texas started treating A&M exactly like they treat Houston as soon as they were gone out of the Big 12. They pretended like they didn't exist. A&M left to get out from their shadow, but they did treat them exactly like they treat Houston.
Uh-oh, Jason, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I said, yeah, I'll give you that. Go ahead. What else? What do you think about the possibility that they could play? Do you think that Florida would beat them both and Georgia? I'd probably be pissed if I was Florida on that.
I think a lot of their fans would be kind of game for it at least initially. Because they are a rowdy bunch, right? They're very, bring it on. So I think they'd be game for it initially. They would miss maybe having like Tennessee every year and a couple of others.
I'm trying to figure out who do you replace them with, because I have who the initial was. Let me find that picture.
It was South Carolina. Georgia, Oklahoma.
Yeah. So you get rid of South Carolina, which gets rid of a regional opponent. And now the biggest beneficiary of that, of course, is Florida, because then they get some easier access to recruiting in Texas.
Absolutely.
And same thing for Texas going to Florida and Oklahoma going to Florida. You have access to the players out there to recruit.
But also South Carolina.
Yeah.
South Carolina probably gets like Vanderbilt or Mississippi or Mississippi.
Yeah, or Mississippi,
because they're all lacking partners.
Yeah, let me see, because I actually have them all listed here. Yeah, that's.
But then, what does that do to the Arkansas to Texas? Is because you either lose Arkansas or you lose A&M. If they do that, if they were to throw this into this new, and honestly,
I think they lose Arkansas.
I think they would. Yeah, they would. Well, you would think, because why would you? I mean, that game hasn't been played in 10 years. There's a lot of it, right? Yeah, I saw that. High Top is down for it. He wants to lose OU, keep Tennessee. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be up to High Top. I can tell you that. But I do feel like, I think it's going to be.
Yeah, I
one
wish
of
I
those
had saying that too.
It's just ain't nobody listening to him. But that being said, here's the deal. I don't know that it matters that to me, Ross Dellinger, Sports Illustrated, I know he's got some inside information to the conference commissioner's office. According to the Florida folks, though, and again, I don't doubt what Allie heard. I don't doubt what she heard. I don't know that that's correct, though. You know what I mean? I still feel like it's going to be one or the other because and it seems to me like Texas's dance ticket is full just with people that they want them to play every year. That's just me.
Yeah. That's
they're not going to give up Oklahoma. They're not going to give that one up. There's never going to go. I mean, that game, they brought them together so that they can bring the Red River game.
They want to keep their rivalry going. Yeah, at all times.
Yeah.
Sure.
It feels like both of these are to some degree like different people's wish lists is what it feels like. Like, not that these people probably have say, but it's like different people's wish list rather than this is the list.
Well, I would just tell you though that wasn't what we heard from Allie Peak.
Kentucky.
South Carolina was what? Florida, Tennessee, and Kentucky.
Tennessee and Kentucky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Kentucky's going to get tossed aside there on some of that stuff too. If that doesn't, because they would probably they're going to stay with Georgia. Would be their. It's supposed to be 2 upper half, 1 lower half. If you're an upper half team, right? If you're Kentucky, you can have South Carolina and Vandy, and just 1 upper half team. That's the way it's supposed to work.
According to that list, who do we have?
Yeah, that was the one that came from Dallas,
Missouri, Florida.
Texas, Missouri, and Florida was the last mix up.
Correct.
It could be Arkansas. I'm not sure. Kim, that's a good question.
I don't want Arkansas or A&M.
I want Arkansas. I don't want Missouri.
I don't want Missouri.
Kim, that's a good question on that. With all the DNs, do we see Grimes and Downs moving inside? I don't think they're big enough.
Grimes might.
I don't think they're big enough, but I can't see us go to a four front, 4-man front.
Doing a 4-3. You do
some plays, yeah. I can
see. I think that they're going to go almost like 5 defensive ends on 3rd and longs, maybe. But
that'd be smart.
I would just run.
Got guys big enough that are big enough and fast enough to be able to step back. Like,
that's what I mean.
Like, I see Downs and Grimes rotating in. Like, I don't
even know if I see Grimes rotating in, though. He's the one I think might get lost in the shuffle.
He's already 260, boys. He could get bigger. He's a big boy.
He's at like 275.
Yeah, huh?
You'll need him at 300, and I don't think he'll be able to get to that point that fast.
But here's the thing: is he ever going to be quick enough to get home on the defensive end? I don't think he is. That's the
spring roster. He's 270 right now, so
right.
And I do want to throw some defensive downs. Well, this is defense and criticism of him. And a lot of people talking about he's too slow. I don't think he's too slow. I think he kept cheating inside because the defensive tackles were so bad, and then getting hit outside. Like, he kept on. I think it was he was trying to do somebody else's job and got his assignment wrong sometimes. I feel like maybe some of that was
I could see that, I guess, but that's not something that they wouldn't correct right away, though. I mean,
I know, but
he's going to make them rerun the damn play over and over and over again, even if they don't figure it out.
I can see him maybe doing that because not having the trust in his teammates on the inside to do it. But this,
I get it, but I just feel like at this, I don't know, maybe so, but if it's me, I would say I would want if I'm Ethan, you start looking at those defensive end guys that are. I mean, for sure he's not going to beat Adebawari out. So, and the other side, I mean, who you gonna? if they
But
continue, I mean, they've got a lot of guys coming in that are going to be playing that position. If he's already not getting there, if you're looking ahead to I want to play, maybe you want to pack on the weight and get in there.
It had to be a
Maybe
Well,
before
I think he's
finals.
going to play. I think he's going to play on first and second down. And third downs is where they might pull him out.
Okay.
But he's an excellent run stopper.
I can see that. Now that makes sense, and I say that because that was our biggest problem was on third down is having the proper people out there on pursuit and stopping teams on third down. If you bring in some defenders that are better on third, like that makes the most sense. I like that. That's a good
bring
idea.
in PJ Bothroyd, move Deshaun McCullough up, or bring in our Mason Thomas. You got a lot of speed out there. Now I'd be running a slip screen right at you if you did that because I'd be like, okay, send everybody. Throw a script screen right behind you. But at the same time, that's what I would do.
You're breaking up a little bit, or you've got a little bit of we're getting
storms
some weird
going on.
Sound from you there. The storm. So
it's storming here in Oklahoma.
Thanks for jumping in with us, James. And we're about to wrap it up. So we'll but I appreciate you coming in, man, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay. See ya.
Uh-huh. Guys, obviously, again, please do hit that like button and don't be afraid to drop a tip in there if you want to. You can always go to our member store at Fanatics, get up to 65% off everything just by using our link. It is at the address right above me. Check that out every time. Again, appreciate all you guys coming in, man. We actually went a little longer tonight than we normally do, and I appreciate you hanging around as long as you have, Jay.
Yeah.
And I always love to get your insight on some of this stuff, and looking forward, obviously, to the season. And I'm going to be down there we're definitely going to all be around for the spring game. So it's going to be fun. I think I saw Adela in there talking about she couldn't wait for the spring game to kind of see where we're at on it. I'm with you on that. Everything I keep hearing coming out of practice has been just unbelievable. So, and I hope that
nothing but great news. Nothing but great news. We have to talk
it's been fun
time, but this weekend is the Freaks Day. I've put together my list. I've got the graphics I'm putting together to talk about some of the key players I'm looking out for to come in this weekend. And I'll have a video probably drop sometime tomorrow afternoon. But it's gonna be a big day for Sooner recruiting. Most of these players are 2025s, so you're gonna be seeing a lot of just athletes that we'll be really shooting our shot at to really get a good feel for going into next recruiting cycle. But there's going to be some 24s in there too. And so we're all going to be stoked. And then Kevin Sperry, the quarterback, there's probably one name to keep in mind. He's going to be there from the 25 class, the one that just recently committed.
He's already,
He'll be there. He'll be there at the Freaks Day. So I'm expecting him to be there to recruit. Just like most of our quarterbacks do. So be excited about that.
Yeah, Jackson was a big reason for a lot of these guys that came in, and you hear from them all the time. What I would ask you is this. What are we hearing about Michael Hawkins?
April 8th, right now, we're the lead. And
that's
we're
what
expecting
I thought. I keep hearing I know a kid that plays with him on that Frisco Emerson team, and I keep hearing that it's a done deal. But I just want to make sure.
I'm hearing it's a verbal, but they want the family to come together for it, so they're doing an Easter weekend. So it's a perfect weekend for that. That's, everybody's going to be in town, all the family will be there, and they can really go through and just they can all experience the recruiting experience together as a family.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that makes sense. I'm not mad at them. You only get these one time outside of this going into a free agency, so you got to enjoy being recruited.
Oh man, and you know what? That's the one thing I love the most about what BV says. Hey, enjoy it. When you're ready to commit, then commit. But go and if you're going to do all the recruiting stuff, go do it. So I love that.
Enjoy it because it is fun. You're important.
Hey man,
why not enjoy it?
Yeah, deal, no doubt, guys. Again, thanks so much for coming in and joining us tonight. We had a lot of fun talking about all this stuff. I'm enjoying these call-in shows and letting you guys get some more of your input in there. Appreciate you guys always sticking with us, and we will see you on the next one.